Welcome back to another series. This is series 26. We're in Bereshith, which is Genesis. There's a lot going on here, so we're going to go ahead and get started. We're going to get the key points out as well. We're in chapter 38, verse 2. And Judah saw there a daughter of all right, certain Canaanite whose name was Shua. Keep that in mind. And he took her and went into her. So as we see here, this is kind of similar to, when the daughter went out. Remember back in the other series, and she was seen by that guy. He defiled her and they were upset. But now when they go out to the other women they're choosing, kind of like Esau, who dated the same type of women, um, they're not having those problems like that. These other people don't really, get frustrated or mad about that too much, from different races and religions. So as we continue on, so she conceived and bore a son, and he called his name And she conceived again and bore a son, and she called his name Onan. And she conceived yet again and bore a son, and called his name Shelah. And he was at Kezib when she bore him. And Judah took a wife for his firstborn, and her name was Tamar. But Judah's firstborn, was evil in the eyes of, we have the name of God right there, and we have the name of God right there, took his life. As we stop right there, there's going to be some key points. You can go back and read it. It's a lot that's going on here, but we see that she's a Canaanite. All right, her name is Shua. Her firstborn that she received wasn't like the dad. All right, he was evil in the eyes, and we have the name of God right there. And it was so bad that his life was taken. All right. So you can't expect that if you have a child from a woman of a different race that believes in a different religion, that they're going to be like you. Imagine how good you are in your religion. If you follow this, you truly love God. Imagine you the opposite. What if they were evil? Not yourself, but if you have a child by someone that believes in a different religion, or someone that's like you, but they go in their religion the same way you do, imagine going up ahead. Are you prepared for that? Are you lazy? Because what if you have a child by someone from this religion and their mom knows you? Like when you have a wife, they know you. You become one with them, and they teaching their child the same thing their dad did, and they learning from you. They're under you, but they believe a different religion. That's gonna be kind of tough to deal with, huh? How highly do you think of yourself if you truly really believe that and think about it? All right. So again, his life was taken for that. As we go, verse 8. And Judah said to Onan, go into your brother's wife and marry her, and raise up an heir to your brother. All right, so that's going to be key there. He's telling him to raise up an heir to his brother. And that's kind of like, allowing his legacy to continue on. Although it's not him, that he's married, he has a wife, bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh, I assume is one. So his brother is just needed to, we don't know if he's married at the time or not. We don't see that. Maybe that's the only woman that probably there was a choice for him to have his family line go through. But you see that his firstborn was evil. So now Onan is the next up. Let's see what happened. Verse 9. And Onan knew that the offspring would not be his, and it came to be, when he went into his brother's wife, that he spilled on the ground, lest he should give an offspring to his brother. All right, that's key here. This could be just that he didn't want his brother to have an offspring or a lineage go down, because he knew the kids wasn't gonna be his. He may have a connection with them and things like that, have his DNA, but they're not gonna be his. All right, this is another man's family. All right, so. But the key here, they were married. All right. Now, if you're not married, that's not the same, right? If you're fornicating, just going and messing around, or you just lost your virginity and things like that, that's different. But it becomes to, being married, right? Now, the virginity plays a big role in it. If that's the first person you date, that's the first person you know, it could be. That's the person that the family that you're supposed to have a child with, that may be that. I don't know if marriage consists of that, because a lot of times you see they get married here in the Bible. A lot of times it's virgins, right? Until that you get further on, as we're going to see, God does tell some men to marry a whore. So we're going to see more about that. But that's something you could talk with your pastors about. Get down in detail. Find out how important your virginity is. You only get one, right? So for women, that's going to be very important. And then also, if you're dating a man that masturbates, that fornicates a lot, that dates a lot of women, maybe they're not getting pregnant, but he's still spilling his semen. that's gonna be something that you need to stop and have them get self control over. All right, you don't want to be with someone like that. You know why? We go to verse 10. But what he did displeased. We have the name of God right there. So he took his life too. His life was taken for spilling his semen on the ground. And although the commandment was to go in there and have children for his brother to have a legacy, so to speak, a lineage, he did not do that. He disobeyed, and look what happened: spilling on the ground, wasting his semen. Again, this is not the past. I mean, this is not the present. This is the past, right? So as you living in your lifestyle, all right, and you living, you see this stuff has already happened in that past. Now, as we're living today, if you believe in the scripture and you look towards the future, you go down to Revelation, it tells you what's going to happen, the mark of the beast and all these things. We know that it's a time period that's already happened before us, that's already talked about, that's already ahead of us. All right. And we're just living in between that until we see that and all those things happen. That's when you know that you're living it. If it happens in your lifetime, then it's going to be in the present, right? Because you're living what was talked about. Now, it's a lot of people that talks about in the Bible that they was longing to see the prophecies come true and things like that, but it never happened. So you have to live your life pleasing God, and we see that spilling your semen on the ground is this a displeasure. All right. So as we continue on, then Judah said to Tamar, his daughter-in-law, remain a widow in your father's house until my son Shelah is grown. For he said, lest he also die as his brothers did. And Tamar went and dwelt in her father's house. All right, so we see here, Judah's having a lot of conversations with her. She may like him. She's listening to what he says. She's being obedient. She's submissive. That's qualities you want to have in a wife, submissiveness. All right, so also we see that he's telling her to wait for the younger brother to get older, wait till he gets grown. He may have dealing with masturbation as well. That could be an issue. They're not getting no one pregnant. All right, that's gonna be key. So what he did is please God. Maybe he turned homosexual. Maybe he's like, man, he don't care. He don't care. He just trying to get him off. He not trying to get nobody pregnant and things like that. It's a lot that's going on here that's not talked about. But in these conversations, as a woman in that situation, what would you do? What would you do? Both these dudes passed away. This guy passed away for spilling it on the ground. He just hidden, pleasuring himself, and then he just, all right, we know when it's time to bust, he just get out. So that's a displeasure. So it may be talking about masturbation here. You got to look at that. It could be other things going on as well. But as we go on, we see that he's telling her where to stay at. Let's see what happens here. Verse 12. And after a long time, the daughter of Shua, Judah's wife, died. And Judah was comforted and went up to his sheep shearers at Timnah, and he and his friend Herod the Adullamite. All right, that's key. The daughter of Shua, Judah's wife. So it's not saying his daughter, her daughter, his wife. She had a kid. All right, so single women out there, there's a possibility you can get married to a man of God if that's something he's willing to deal with. It's going to be more issues that come with that than just having you just by yourself, because you still got the love for your daughter and things like that. But it said that he was comforted, and that's why I bring that up. After she died, he was comforted. Remember, every time a woman passed away, it seems like the male get comforted in some way. Maybe they get married. Maybe they have a child or someone has a child, but we see that he's with his friend, the Adullamite, who could have been, the father of that child. We don't know. Are you cool with the baby daddy? That may be something there. You may have to have the relationship with the baby daddy now, because you're dating a woman. You got to be around their daughter. They want to make sure you're not going to, harm their daughter or do things to her. And, who trusts somebody or just around their kids like that? It's a lot that goes into it. So he was comforted. Now, all those things that was going on, maybe she date dudes that he didn't like or that's more aggressive than him and things like that. That all comes into a factor, right? Maybe she didn't like the guy he believed in and things like that. It's a lot that goes into it. So he was comforted. So that's something to think about. Maybe if you're a single mother, have a kid, maybe it's just good to have friends and, just have self-control and just, live. Wait till she get grown, you grown, and then you do your thing that way, or just stay single. It's a lot that's going on here. But we see that Judah was comforted after her daughter died. All right, so you go back up, we see Shua, find out who her, the Canaanite. Remember, the women that do not follow or are not the same religion, different people, you can't expect them to live accordingly to, the gospel. So that's one thing you got to take consideration. They still can be women and do what they got to do, take care of their house, have money, car, clothes, get the best schools, teaching, and all that stuff. They do everything they need. But for some time, for you, if you're a Christian man and if you're dating a Christian man and you're not following this, maybe time to separate because y'all gonna have disagreements when it comes to these matters here. All right. So, verse 13, and it was reported to Tamar, saying, see, your father-in-law is going up to Timnah to shear his sheep. So look, he with his friend. She know where he's going. Who is Tamar? All right. Judah said to Tamar, his daughter-in-law, remain a widow in your father's house. He giving her commandments, telling her what to do. You know what I mean? So we see that the daughter of Shua just died. She may be trying to be like her. You don't know. All right, so let's see. She know where he about to go. Let's see what happened. And she took off her widow's garments and covered herself with a veil and wrapped herself and sat at the entrance to Enyim, which was on the way to Timnah. For she saw that Shelah was grown and she was not given to him as a wife. So she knew that she ain't married yet. She's single. All right. Then she looking like, oh, your kids be masturbating and all this. They don't want to bust in them. They ain't ready to be men yet. They ain't trying to have no kids. Let me see what they daddy about. So she covered herself with a veil and wrapped herself. So she knew what he gonna be looking for. She knew that he probably knew how she looked, her face and all that. She saw that Shelah was grown. She saw that he was grown and was not given to him as a wife. So she probably think he was lying. Why she ain't married yet? Why he ain't come over yet? What's going on? Is he still playing with himself? He grown. What's going on? Did he have a kid yet? These are thoughts that could pop up. These are situations. Now, when you talk about it, it's a lot that's talked about when it goes to sex. All right, it's a lot. Look, all the kids that they just had. Some was evil. We see what just died. It's a lot that's going on. You think she want to deal with that? Let's see what's going on. And then when you talk about this too as well, in y'all women congregations in your churches, y'all sessions, not including men, just women, y'all should be able to break down these conversations a lot more. Verse 15, and Judah saw her and reckoned her for a whore, for she had covered her face. All right, so she knew how to hide her appearance. That's deception right there. That's a key point. And he turned aside to her by the way and said, please let me come into you. For he did not know that she was his. And we're going to flip this over here. Daughter-in-law. And she said, what do you give me to come into me? All right, so now she deceived him. He didn't know it was his daughter-in-law. He just trying to get some. And she knew what kind of good guy he was. She knew that she disguised herself and things like that. So women, you cannot be surprised if a man has paid for, pleasuring themselves, sex, things like of that nature, and vice versa. Some women may pay a dude to do it. You see, she hired her husband. It's going on right now. So this is not nothing new. And he said, let me send you a young goat from the flock. And she said, do you give me a pledge until you send it? So he said, what pledge should I give you? And she said, your seal and your cord and your staff that is in your hand. And he gave them to her and went into her, and she conceived by him. Wow. Now we see this. Some women be wanting to get pregnant. You see some women been having trouble getting pregnant, waiting a long time. They've been praying to God, or God told them they was going to get pregnant. It's a long time. Look, she pretended to be a prostitute, got what she wanted, got some, and she got pregnant right away. And some men who do get prostitutes pregnant, they be upset. And sometimes they don't even know. They have sex with someone, she gets pregnant, things like that. Let's see what happened. Verse 19. And she arose and went away and removed her veil and put on the garments of her widowhood. And Judah sent the young goat by the hand of his friend the Adullamite to receive his pledge from the woman's hand. But he did not find her. See, that's key. Nowhere to be found. He didn't find her. He looking to get his stuff back. They made a deal. Look, I'm going to give you this. I'm going to get some, whatever, and then just get it back. Thinking it's all good. She got pregnant. Now, it's just getting juicy now. Where's she at? Can't find her. So we're gonna get more into this the next series and talk about this a little bit more. But stay tuned, it's gonna get good. God bless.